Hey, this is Quentin from Fifth Ring.
This is Chris from Fifth Ring.
And you're watching RichardMetalFan.
So what's up, guys? Episode 123 of RichardMetalFan Interviews, here in an undisclosed location in Marietta, Georgia. And I'm going to be interviewing my buddy's band, Fifth Ring. We got 2/3 of the band. Man, how you guys doing?
Doing all right. How are you?
Doing pretty well. Well, it's a lovely afternoon in your lovely establishment. So.
This is our hideaway from the rest of the planet.
Yeah.
So that's where all the magic happens.
Yeah. So of course we got Quentin. He plays the drums, and then it's Chris. He plays guitar, and their vocalist Zach is currently in Taiwan.
Yeah.
So kind of what I wanted to do is do like a rundown of your catalog, go through your history, as well as talk about like your guys' journey as artists from where you started to now. But let's just dive right back into the very beginning. What were the bands that got you two into metal? What made you want to play your respective instruments? I guess we'll go along the line.
I'll start. The first resembling metal band, I think I've mentioned this to you, that I've ever gotten to was Korn.
Yeah.
Like, coming from a completely hip-hop background and mostly hip-hop and funk, and everybody that I listened to or grew up around was hip-hop, funk, and jazz. Yeah, Korn was my first inclination of that and Cannibal Corpse, but
yeah,
not really knowing what Cannibal Corpse was.
Those first couple Korn records are great.
The first 6 are gold.
Mostly first 4 in Cannibal Corpse were the gateway and for death metal. Same thing with Black Dahlia Murder.
The first thing I ever heard from Korn was Falling Away From Me. It was the music video with them in the room with the little girl. So Issues is technically
and that was when they premiered it on South Park, where they appeared on there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was that, and then it was on TRL all the time, and my sisters watched MTV. So that, and then if Korn bridge it to Slipknot, because by middle school Slipknot was blowing up. That was when Kill Switch and them were all kind of getting a new wave of American metal was all coming out, and I was being exposed to that because hip hop was not that great. Yeah. So, and metal was. So I always tell people that I didn't find metal kind of found me. It kind of just crept up in my life, and I kind of just basked in it.
All right.
So yeah, definitely Slipknot, System of a Down. Everybody in the band loves System of a Down.
Yeah, they were the band that got me into metal when I was 12 years old.
I feel like everybody that we know is hugely influenced by System of a Down.
Because they wanted to.
Yeah, and then also people seem to forget how big that band was. They were huge. They were the biggest band for a moment.
Yeah, it was that new metal stuff. I always say, if it wasn't for Linkin Park, I wouldn't have gotten into Cannibal Corpse or something.
That's actually what I was gonna say, because the band that probably got me, the first band I ever remember getting hardcore into was Linkin Park.
Yeah.
And from there, it went from Linkin Park to Offspring, into Rage Against the Machine, into Arch Enemy, and then into heavier bands from there. But yeah, that's one. Yeah, Linkin Park.
Those first 2 albums are mint.
Yeah,
and I've also heard the new song they put out, Lost.
Oh yeah, did you hear that?
I haven't really.
It's pretty much it's a Meteora B-side.
Because this year's the 20-year anniversary of that, and they're releasing a special edition box set.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's okay, but if going to the extreme stuff, because that's moving out here. But even in that bridge, I got more into the classic stuff before I got into the extreme stuff, going from System of a Down to Maiden and Motorhead and Pantera, and knowing the roots and everything, and Black Sabbath. Black Sabbath is one of my all-time favorite bands.
Yeah, they're the OGs of metal.
Exactly. So, and I still love Black Sabbath to this day. And then going from that, learning my history, going into Cannibal Corpse and Death. And Morbid Angel. It took me a while to get into Morbid Angel and Deicide, but
that
Death
was my thing too.
Yeah. And then I remember kind of getting into power metal a little bit, because I had a lot of friends, especially when I moved out here, were the power metal guys, but extreme metal kind of was where I picked. I still love Halloween, and I like Blind Guardian a lot.
Yeah, Blind Guardian's amazing.
Yeah, Blind Guardian rules.
Them, Dragon Force, Sonata Arctica.
Dragon Force is one of the bands I kind of went up and down, and I've never really gotten a sense.
Yeah, and you should also check out another great band, Unleash the Archers. They're from Canada. They're really amazing.
They're fun. They're really fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so tell me about, I guess the first band y'all were in was Cthulhu. I guess y'all formed 2009, 2010?
It was late 2008, and then our first show was early 2009.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I believe y'all did some bout the bands at our old high school.
That was our second show. That was literally the second show we ever played.
I forgot about that.
We did
we had how many? We had 3 songs written at the point?
It was only 3.
3 songs written. That's it.
Yeah.
It was
Bloody Parliament.
Bloody Parliament. Oh my God. Revelations.
And then ETC and Emily.
Holy
which is, yeah, it was really, they were really bad.
They were terrible.
They
were awful.
If you can find those like recordings, they're probably really hard to find.
Yeah.
Like, and just keep them buried.
Oh my God.
Don't reveal them to us, people.
I mean, the stuff that came after was like kind of a foreshadowing to like how the music is written now, because I mean it's the same basic people writing the music, so there's definitely gonna be a lot of those core elements. But like, yeah, if you go back and listen to it, it was a very, I mean, the best word for it was like an immature sound, I guess. You know, we were young and we were trying to figure out like how to play metal, really, because you know it was new to all of it. I mean, you know what I mean? Like
literally just getting into extreme metal, trying to be an extreme.
Trying to figure it out, you know. But it was fun. I mean, yeah.
And then I'd say Glasgow is when it kind of.
That was
that's like the
turning point to where we started to kind of like mature our sound.
Yeah.
But
yeah, and I know back in 2010 you had your first little 2-song EP, I believe, was "Heed the Call." Oh, tell me about like that.
Oh God, Heed the Call. That was the one we recorded. We recorded it in a guy's
some
basement.
random guy's basement. I'm pretty sure we paid way more than.
Yeah, we paid probably way more. I think we put $75 a piece, and it was only 4 of us at the time.
We recorded it in one day. It was like, yeah, that sounds good. That sounds good. Next.
Zach did vocals in the bathroom because that's where the vocal booth was like a half bathroom with a small shower, and like
it was all live too.
Yeah, and it was all live. We had to do a gang vocal part with all 4 of us in the bathroom. And then we recorded first like all together. Yeah. Wow. And then waited for like the rough mix. We sat there for like an hour while he gave us like a rough mix, and then eventually he mixed it and kind of mastered it, and we dropped it.
Yeah. Tell me about like there's like a sample from like the title song "Heed the Call." Where did that come from?
Wait, the sample?
Yeah, I think it was like.
I actually don't remember. It was like
I remember
the person dies, and I think was that.
I remember the Devil's Rejects one, but that's False Prophets.
I think Zach takes care of all the samples. So
I know False Prophets was Devil's Rejects. I don't remember the one in Heed the Call though. That's how long it's been since I've listened to it.
Yeah, and tell me about like I've watched some of your like the old videos on Zach's channel, and you guys were like hilarious then. Especially I know there's that one intro where I forget which one it was, like in front of like Center Stage in Atlanta, where it had you were like warning the following stunts by
dumbasses
performed by other dumbasses, but this week will fuck your brain hole or something. Then how did how did you come up with that? It was like, was that like something on the fly?
All of the videos that we were doing that we just kept doing. Remember, this is end of MySpace era, early YouTube, Facebook era. Yeah. Most of us were Jackass fans, like diehard, still to this day, Jackass fans. Too. That's where we stole that from. But then just the whole voyeuristic filming shit while we did everything was a mix of that. And then Black Dahlia Murder dropped Majesty, and I was fucking obsessed with Majesty. I bought it like immediately. And
wasn't it the DVD?
Yeah, it was the 2-disc DVD.
Yeah, we must have watched that like
a lot.
Maybe at least 5 times all the way back to finish. Probably more. Maybe like
a lot.
8.
Like, because I still own it, so I've watched it more since. Yeah. So
I mean, it's not pretty much free on the Metal Blade Records YouTube channel.
I know now, and that was after I bought it. And then also that was that era where like bands were doing a lot of studio videos. It's not really a thing anymore. But it was a mix of all of that, and we're just like, well, it's a way to kind of get out other than the music. Like, let's just do it. And then it eventually became a thing. And it was like every show we had to have a video connected to it. When we were shooting or when we were recording False Prophets, we did it. When we recorded Novus, we did it.
Yeah, and I love the intro. I think it was like you all were like walking at like that one Kroger where funny enough, I used to work at.
Wait, the one on 41?
Yeah, the one I used to actually work there. For a little bit.
It
had like Upon a Burning Body. I forget what song that goes, "Welcome to the family." It's just a catchy song.
God, and that's the funny thing about some of those videos is that we weren't confident enough in our own music to put our own music in it.
Our own music.
We would just put other bands on there, and then also we didn't really know we only had like one recording, so throughout the videos we would gradually put more of our music in it, but even then, it was lack of confidence.
And then tell me about like the next release, False Prophets. What did you all wanted to like better your sound from Heed the Call?
From Heed the Call to False Prophets, we went from a 4-piece to a 5-piece.
Yeah.
So we were already wanting to get a little bit more technical and heavier. That was kind of just always the goal.
Yeah.
And then Zach had completely stopped playing guitar, like was just a vocalist. We
just wanted to bring more of a stage presence.
Yeah, he wanted to. He really was like kind of mentally checked out a guitar for a bit and just wanted to be vocals. And then we had another guitar player named Casey, who him and Chris really clicked, and they pretty much started writing like immediately, and just a bunch of shit came out. Like, there's some of the, it's like a mix of what would eventually be Novus. It's like that weird bridge. So there's some stuff in there that's very kiddie and immature, but then there's other stuff on False Prophets that's like,
it started to get a lot darker.
Yeah.
And like a lot more like, I mean, like the tip of the iceberg of like what we're doing now, I would say.
Yes.
But it started to like mature a little bit, but that's when it started to become less like, when we started, it was basically like kiddie metalcore band.
Kind
like,
of, yeah.
Honestly.
And also, everybody wanted to do different things, kind of. Like, Zach, we were the big groove metal, like, we were listening to, like, Chimera and Trivium. Like, we were the groove metal thrash kids. Zach was very much, like, a kind of, he was more in the scene bands. Like, he was in the early August Burns Red, a lot of the breakdown stuff. And then Johnny was a rock guy. So yeah, he was he likes like Faith No More and Soundgarden and Rage Against the Machine and Muse and Red Hot Chili Peppers. We all love those bands too, but that's
not the music you want to make.
Yeah, that's his bread and butter. Yeah. So we were all wanting to do different things, kinda, but then just make it heavy. Yeah. And then just eventually, like False Prophets is the first inclination of like, okay, this is starting to.
Because that had
Glasgow
on it, and then there was one other one that was on there. Was it Bleeding on the Scene?
Bleeding on the Scene.
I think that was another one that was actually Casey wrote a good bit of that.
That was the song that got Casey.
And you know, that was actually one of the good things that he brought to the table, was like he started to bring some of that darker sound to it. A lot of those like actual death metal sounding elements. Bleeding on the Scene was probably the more like deathcore-esque because it had breakdowns, but it had darker riffs and, you know, all that stuff. And then Glasgow was a little more like, you know, progressive in that sense, bigger sounding. It was probably the biggest song.
That was the biggest song. We were listening to a lot of BT Band at the time.
Yeah, and then of course, like your last release, Novus Ordo Seclorum. I love that. That was pretty much my introduction to Cthulhu. Tell me about like the making of that EP.
That was so much fun.
Hard to believe
that was definitely like the best. It was the last one we made, and it was the best one.
It's hard to believe that was like over a decade ago.
Yeah,
like 11 years.
What was that? That was like January 2012.
Yeah, and I remember seeing like you guys' EP show release you did at the Swayzes.
Yeah, I remember that. God, that show was fun. But recording of that was so much fun. Like, even though we were all like, he had finally graduated high school, so everybody was out of high school. A couple of us were working, so we had jobs. Like we would literally have to be picked up from our job and go to record. It was like, we were writing the best stuff. We had been playing way more shows. We were much more consistent on shows because, like I said, we were already out of high school, so we were adding more.
We had more free time.
Yeah, we had way more free time.
Yeah, it was like.
Yeah, because I know you all played like Swayzes a bunch back in the day.
That was we played Swayzes a little late, but that was like when we started playing all the time. It was right around the time Novus came out.
Yeah, and that I think you also did you play Masquerade a little bit?
Masquerade.
A couple times.
We played Masquerade like
in 2010. We played it like 2-3 times.
Overall, though, we played there like
6
times, 7 times,
maybe. Like 6 or 7 times. But it was like the early days of playing the Masquerade, and then like probably like a year or 2 gap where we didn't play the Masquerade at all, and then we played the Masquerade like another 3-4 times.
Yeah, and I still love like the old spot. Rest in peace.
Yeah,
Masquerade at 695.
We played every single stage.
Yeah, we haven't played the new one.
We haven't played the new one.
Yeah,
so.
I hope. I mean, maybe one day.
Cthulhu. Yeah. You know, you never know.
Yeah, but that one show was great. That was like first time I've heard of Swayzes because many years ago I got into some trouble, and then I know they had some people were telling my parents about like, you should check out Swayzes. I feel like Richard would fit in. I'm like, okay. And that was like the first time I went was seeing you guys and Immerse the Giant and whoever was that Carnage Fest was what it's called.
Oh yeah.
Oh god. No, oh my god. That was what that show was, and that's why we dropped the album then. It was perfect. It was just like it was already done because we recorded it in the summer of 2011, and we were like, why not then? It's right at the beginning of the year. So yeah, it was the perfect time to do it.
Yeah, and I remember like during like our other friends at Immerse the Giant. Well, of course, shout out to Andrew, currently playing with Sustenance. And especially, I remember during their set, you were like,
oh, there's
still, like a video.
Yeah, there's still video online.
It's
You've
hilarious.
seen that, right?
No.
They started playing their set And then right when the breakdown started, I fucking hopped on stage.
Oh no, I do remember
and
that.
then just flopped on stage.
Yeah, it looked like you were stage diving. You just went.
Yeah, I literally just went like face down into just nothing because a couple people just went.
I still think that's hilarious.
It wasn't even like a ha. It was
Catch me.
aha.
And then, of course, the final time I saw you all was at the warehouse.
Jesus.
Yeah, that was the last time I ever saw Cthulhu. Was that little place?
And that was probably one of the last shows there because I know it's like done.
Oh yeah, warehouse.
Yeah,
is-
yeah, I've
it's
seen
rest
that
in
place.
peace.
I
Oh,
looked
man.
at. I was in there recently, and there was like a bunch of like clothes and stuff in there, and I kind of feel like, damn.
Was it like a thrift shop now?
Yeah,
Yeah,
something.
it's not. It's
Yeah,
not
especially
bizarre.
Swayze's isn't even a venue anymore. It's now a
Yeah.
barber shop.
It's a barber shop. Okay. I
Yeah.
thought the barber shop was next door.
Yeah, because that place used to be good, but then over time it just got into drama and stuff.
When I first heard of Swayze's, way before we even played, there was this whole thing where black metal bands used to play.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like the
Wait,
you ever
Black
heard of
Dahlia play at Swayze's?
Yeah, Black Dahlia played
They
Swayze's back in
did?
the day. Wretched
Yeah,
played
way
Swayze's
back
back
in
in
the
the
play,
day.
yeah,
Wretched
yeah,
and
like-
Within the Ruins played in the same show that
God damn.
yeah, there was a
Must've been
point
before they were big or something.
yeah, this is like when this is all their earlier shit.
And then the internet took over. And all that
That
shit.
took over. But there was a record label, Deathgasm Records, that was a local record label around in Marietta, and the guy that ran it would have like black metal bands play at Swayze's. He would like rent the shows out for that, and that's how like a bunch of like all from over the globe would play there.
Oh, wow.
And they would even have like actual goat sacrifices and shit like that. So-
God
in
damn.
Swayze, yeah, in
That's
Swayze.
fucking
I don't know about
crazy.
that part.
Oh my
No,
God.
the actually, I've seen Vince went to one. There's a picture of Vince. He's one of our old guitar players, and he was like
He's
with
still
it.
kind of involved in the band.
He's still
to be
pretty,
honest.
he's still pretty much.
Yeah, I
in
didn't mean
the
to cut in, but like actually, yeah, Vince. He was always part of. He was never part of the original Cthulhu lineup, but he was always part of our friend group and always part of like that musical.
band. He played on stage at our first show.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he did. So he was always kind of on the sidelines involved, and now to this day, he's not direct. Well, no, I mean he kind of is directly involved because a lot of the riffs, like the last track on Masochist, "Lurking in the Open Wound," was actually
He wrote
based
those.
on a few. Most of the riffs were based on riffs that he wrote. And then I pretty much took them and like kind of molded them into like what Fifth Ring would sound like.
Yeah.
But those riffs were inspired by him, and the title track is inspired by his.
Yeah.
lyrics.
Yeah, but then tell me, because I guess around that time, I guess Cthulhu changed the name to Golgotha. What was the reason
Oh,
for the
man.
name?
that was like
Golgotha.
literally for 4 seconds. We were Golgotha. Yeah, it was literally just to have a name change.
Let's be real. That was an attempt. At,
Because
Yeah,
I
it's
know on
attempt.
Metal Archives there's like a bunch of other bands called Cthulhu.
Yeah, but that was literally just like we barely played shows as Golgotha, and we probably played
did
like
we even play any?
I think we played like 2, and a couple of them were house parties.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
It really wasn't serious. At that point, the band was pretty much ending.
Yeah.
Everybody was kind of going their separate ways. There's some other stuff that I won't get into, but like some of us were in college, some of us were graduating college. Some of us found our majors and what we wanted to do, and we had been doing the band stuff for a while. And this is kind of where like, yeah, I would say by 2015 we were pretty much done.
Yeah, and kind of in between the breakup and of course forming Fifth Ring, what were doing in the meantime? Was just regular stuff?
I finished college. I worked pretty much. I completely stopped playing drums. He was into glass blowing, still is, because he's just like he does a lot of crazy hand arts.
Yeah.
So he's great at drawing, and there's a giant 3-dimensional bird that he made out of metal
wow.
and cloth.
Yeah. Between all that, I mean, yeah, we kind of just lived our regular lives for a little bit. I pretty much finished up college. Zach finished up college, moved to China, had his, that whole experience.
Zach technically didn't stop playing music. Like,
Yeah, he actually.
Yeah,
out of
because I
all
know
of
he
us-
did Mortal, which actually is a reworked versions of Cthulhu songs.
Yeah, that he
Yeah,
did CoreCon. Me and him had a small little hip hop project that like.
Oh, wow.
It's buried into the dark depths of the internet. I doubt you can find it. We did that for a couple seconds, and then like I said, he eventually went to China.
But it was because of him, honestly, that we probably started this back up. Because during that entire time, I was playing guitar occasionally, but I wasn't really writing anything new. Maybe we had like riffs occasionally.
we had riffs
and then-
right when I moved in, right in the beginning of COVID.
Yeah, so that's kind of what led up to pretty much living normal lives. And then 2020, me and him move in together. And, obviously we kind of know it's like, okay, we're probably going to start picking this stuff back up a little bit. We start kind of writing some riffs. meanwhile, me and Zach are still talking. We still talk on the regular.
Yeah.
And we're, he's still got his stuff going on Mortal, and he's saying, like, hey, get GarageBand, start recording riffs. We can send them back and forth. Like, why not? What do we have to lose? And one day I just took the plunge. We started doing it, and,
Yeah. And apparently, I saw this fun fact. Apparently, there was like a boy band called Fifth Ring for a little bit.
Yeah, I saw that
didn't
on
see
Google. Because when before Masochist came out, now you see a lot of our stuff. But if you go and look on Fifth Ring, yeah, it's like some weird pop band. I didn't listen to them.
I think they broke up, and now I think you guys will pretty much steamroll over.
Good. I think they're from another country.
I have no idea.
No, we're gonna bring them
they're
back.
only in there for like a minute because I think there was like all the other boy bands that were happening at the time.
I don't even know what era they came out.
I think they were at the same time of like Backstreet Boys and
Oh,
NSYNC.
okay. So they definitely fell off.
Yeah, but then tell me about, because I know you had the Dawn EP. Tell me about like the making of that.
That came out like nothing. That was a lot. Some of that was the beginnings of the stuff that me and him had started during like right when COVID and shutdown happened, and we were just like messing around with riffs and ideas. And then him and Zach pretty much took those and then just kind of cranked it out real quick. Like, you guys had Dawn EP out in like no time.
Yeah, we pumped that out pretty quickly. That was actually, so Zach, right after that, had his first kid.
That was later.
That was later, but that's where I'm going, because that one we pumped out so quickly. And the reason we called it Dawn was actually because it was his wife was actually pregnant at the time, and we kind of thought Dawn would be cool to name it because it's kind of like the dawn of our new music, and it's the dawn of like it was a turning point, for us, for him. It just fit perfectly, so that's why we named it Dawn. But it was 3 songs, quick and easy, and we just wanted to get something out there.
Yeah, especially they had that video for Unanimated, which had like you in like dressed up as like a hazmat suit or something.
It was supposed to be a Pikachu suit, but we didn't have
we didn't have the hat.
And then I know you were like playing on pots and pans.
That I will genuinely say that video was funded by alcohol.
We were just trying to we were just trying to get something out. That whole EP was kind of the whole point. The Fifth Ring thing is, the flow state, just kind of not thinking about things, just do it. And we wanted to get some kind of video out, so what better way than just film it at home, get something, it could be silly, so we just got that out there.
And I already had my camera, so I was like, why not?
Yeah, just be yourselves. And I always think like the EP is always kind of like a sneak preview view or something.
Kind of what it was, pretty much, yeah. And then that led into
Masochist.
Majestic.
I always fuck it up.
Majestic. No, the Masochist. Because we did Masochist like almost immediately after, like we were working on it at the same time. Would you say? Like,
yeah.
Dawn EP was coming out, and we were like pumping out
a few of the songs that were on Masochist were written while Dawn was we're like right after Dawn was made. But.
Yeah. And that came out fairly fast too. I'd say we probably wrote majority of Masochist within the span of 3 months.
Just about
Probably 2.5.
And I think the reason it came out so quickly was because that was years of
pent up.
Yeah, because I hadn't written anything in years, and I had all these ideas in my head, for songs and all this, and then okay, here we go. I can make an album. I've got all this creative freedom now, versus I think the advantage now to Fifth Ring versus in the back in the day was it's much more deliberate now, and because it's less songwriters and less noise, we can focus in on what the songs are supposed to sound like, versus back in the day it was kind of we all had these different ideas, and so they all kind of got convoluted into weird songs, I think.
Yeah, and I still think you guys really hit the ground running with Masochist, because it's a great debut album.
Thank you.
But I especially love 10 Horns. I think is a great intro track, especially with you kind of on the drums in the video. It's banging and then
throwing it.
Yeah. He just like to have fun. I also like the lyric video for the snake. I don't know who did that, the lyric video for that, because it looks amazing, especially the art and everything.
Zach knows.
Yeah, it's someone that Zach was in contact with. So
yeah, I know that the one, I guess you could call this the B-side, which is Naked Death Wound. You didn't tell me about that because I don't think it's on Masochist.
No, didn't Zach write that? Pretty much, he wrote majority, if not all of it.
Well, he wrote the song, but it was in the Fifth Ring style. So he was purposely trying to write a song that would fit in with the Fifth Ring sound, versus because Mortal, even though it's still primarily the same songwriters, is a different sound in general, I would say.
Yeah, it's like Mortal's probably more it's more creepier and black.
Yeah.
But it's a lead into like what we're doing next is we're probably not going to release a full album for a while. We're probably going to release a few different singles, you know, leading up to whatever our next.
Yeah, which I feel about just bands do nowadays, just release
Well,
singles.
you say that now, and then we've accidentally written like 4 songs in the past month.
We'll see where they go.
We'll see. But yeah.
Because how do you feel about the responses? I know about the full-length Masochist, because I know it's been out since last October or something.
I've heard nothing but positives, mostly positive. I'm incredibly proud of it. I keep telling them this. This was the album that I wanted. This is the way I wanted us to sound back when we were Cthulhu. Yeah. Like the vision that we kind of had, like we didn't really know it yet, and we weren't mature enough to execute it. But yeah, this is how I kind of always have wanted us to sound.
Yeah, and kind of in the end, to wrap it up, what's next for Fifth Ring? Are you going to play any shows, or is it just going to be just a local little project?
For shows, never say never, but don't hold your breath. Zach's still in Taiwan. Don't know when he's coming back. We haven't played a show in almost 9 years, so far from show ready. And right now we're just enjoying the songwriting aspect is what we're really enjoying right now, and the actual creation of the songs. We made the album and just want to see the response and kind of just let it as is. And all this new stuff that we're coming out, we have some new stuff coming out that's like, it might be a little bit better than Masochist, in my opinion. Like, some of this stuff is really good.
Yeah, there must be like a lot of pressure to follow up Masochist.
Not at all.
Yeah.
Not at all. That's the best. That's the best part of it. Yeah. There's no pressure at all.
Because with the debut album, you have like your entire life to write it, and there's always the hype with the first album.
And everybody, that's why I've noticed a lot of bands prefer their first album for that reason. I've always been fancy to the second, third album, because that's when it's like, all right, we've done the first album. We know what we want to sound like. Now it's like, let's hone in on it. And that is kind of what I'm excited about. But yeah, there's no pressure at all. We're not nervous. We're not scared. We're not like, no, we're actually like, it's coming out so easy. Like the way we're writing songs now is way easier than we did back in the day. However, I will admit I do miss being in the room, all of us together and jamming out, but there's less arguing now.
Yeah.
So,
which is good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so before we go, just want to thank you for this interview. It was great to be able to help you promote you guys. Just any final words you want to say to close this out?
What would you like to say? Anything? I know Zach would approve of this. Fuck communism.
Hail Satan.
Sail hatin', and wait for new stuff. Things are happening. We'll see here, and thank you for having us on this.
Awesome.
And coming to our secret lair. Now we do have to deneuralize you like in Men in Black, so you don't know where it is. So they won't know either.
Awesome. So everybody, Fifth Ring. See you next time.